Hi everyone, it's Nisha here. Hope you're having a really good day. I know it's not been great today. It's been raining all morning, but the sun is coming out, so it's definitely looking better. Now, today is day 27 on my 30-day challenge, so there's not a lot of days left, which is great. I'm sure you're getting a bit bored listening to me. Or maybe not. Maybe you're finding service accommodation quite interesting and you'd like to know more. And if you are, and if you want to, just follow us or just DM us and we'll give you a guide on how to start in service accommodation. Now, one of the questions I had is how do you get more booking? Now, if you look at service accommodation, there's about 16 to 18 ways where you could market your property and get more bookings. But I think for today, we're going to focus on one and try and understand one, especially for those who are starting. I think it's very important for me to try and help you if you're starting to try and find ways where you can generate more booking for yourself. Now, let's go back to when you're starting. When you're starting, you would only have maybe one property. Now, with one property, it's much easier for you to kind of look at how you can organize meet and greet, because one property would not require a lot of your time to be able to meet and greet guests. And I think a lot of people underestimate the power of meet and greet because there's a lot of complexity around meet and greet, which kind of put off a lot of people from trying to use meet and greet when they're starting. But I would say my number one advice, if you can make it work, if you're in that area where you can, if you're in the same area with your service accommodation, you can meet and greet the guests, do have a go when you're starting, as long as you can do it within your work commitment and everything else. Now, what does meet and greet involve? So if you are having a guest coming and staying with you, they will generally tell you, or you would generally tell them, okay, your meet and greet is between this and this time. That could be 5 o'clock to about 8 o'clock, whatever time you agreed that the check-in time will be. And that's when you meet and greet them. Now, when you're meeting and greeting them, it's very important to know what time they're going to be at the property, so you can meet them at that time. It's also very important to let them know that if they're running late, it's important for them to let you know, because you'll be waiting for them. And although you're happy to wait for them for about 15, 20, 30 minutes, anything more than that, there'll be additional charges because that's what is required for them when they're there. So it's important for you to make those points really clear. So you're setting an expectation for them, but they also know that if they're going to be late, they're going to be charging them. But by giving them a leeway by saying, 15, 20, 30 minutes, you'll wait for them, hopefully they'll understand that, you are quite generous with your time, and it's only fair for you to charge if they're there longer. Now, the reason for that is because you could end up putting a meet and greet or checking at 5 o'clock, but the guests don't turn up until 6 or 7 o'clock, and that can be quite frustrating if they're not updating you. But it's also your time. You might be at the property wasting 2 hours waiting for the guests to come in, or sometimes there might be flight delay. I think the flight delay is the most difficult one, because there's no way for them to be able to let you know that they're running late. I think that's where it's quite complicated if you've got international guests checking in and that you don't actually know what time they're going to be there and you're just waiting for them. But the advantage of meet and greet is the ability to be able to get more booking. Now, if you're in the travelers market, now that's not necessarily going to work if you're in the leisure market, but if you're in the traveler market, it's definitely going to work. Now, let me give you an example of what actually happened to us when we started. So when we started, I couldn't really do meet and greet because I was working. But once I left my job, I started doing some of the meet and greet to try and see who are the type of people that are visiting the property or staying with us. And I remember very well, we took this new property and we didn't really put a low rate. The rate was a little bit high, actually, just because the others were doing really well. So we thought we'll test it and put a high rate on it. Now, that person booked in for a week. They were staying with us for a week, and I went to meet and greet them. But when I went to meet and greet them, that's when I found out that they had been staying in the area, or the person who came in with his family has been staying in the area for a couple of months. And the reason why they were out of property is because obviously they've not booked for next month, and where they're staying was not available because somebody already booked for the week. So they had to go somewhere else to go back. But then we wanted to make sure they stay with us because They were from Vodafone and they had a contract for about 12 months with Vodafone. So they were definitely going to be in the area for 12 months. So it was very important for us to try and make sure that we keep them in our property. Now, this information, even if you ask for them over the phone, you don't always get all this information. It's only because you're there, standing in the property, talking to them, having a chat. That's when you end up finding out this information. And I think what was key on that day that we found out was the fact that he didn't really care how much the property was, because he was not going to pay for it. It was actually his company that was paying for it. So actually, we didn't have to give that 30% discount that you would give if it's a direct booking for a whole month. You can keep that money for you. And on that particular occasion, we did actually charge them the normal rate because it was the company paying for it. So we didn't have to give them a discount. Now, 30%, it was a big significant amount of money, and we end up making regularly nearly £2,000 profit from that property while they stayed with us for about, I think it was end up being quite a few months that they've stayed with us before their contract ends. But you can see the advantage of just talking to people and finding out this information. Now, when we were scaling up and we were having more property, I decided I was going to have one of my head housekeepers to do this. But it's not the same thing. I've noticed it was actually a waste of time and money to get them to do it, because one, they don't have the patience to wait for the guests. And even if they're trying to be nice, they're not always very good as in terms of building up a relationship with the guests. If it's your business, you are passionate about what you do. You are driven to be able to get that direct booking, long-term booking. Whereas if you're putting somebody else to do it, they're getting paid to do it. They're not as driven as you. They're not as passionate as you. So they might not be able to get the same level of interaction that you would get if you're doing it yourself. But definitely, I would say do focus on meet and greet. If you're starting and you've got your very first property, focus on meet and greet. You would definitely get more direct booking. And then from there, you can move on and gradually just do self-checking. I hope you have found this useful. Have a fantastic day, everybody. The sun is coming out. It's going to be lovely. And for those who are celebrating Diwali next Monday, happy Diwali. I'm going to get very busy now. I'm going to go and make some cakes for Diwali for tomorrow. And I'm looking forward to spend Diwali with my family. And I wish you and your family a happy Diwali. Take care. Bye.